You might know that the original Star Trek had not one, but 2 pilot episodes. But did you also know that there were even more stories in the running to be the show's pilot episode? I'm CaptRobau, and this is the story of Star Trek's lost pilot episodes. Before I get to that, some context though. Cage was the first pilot for Star Trek and was meant to convince the executives at NBC to pick up the series for their network. In terms of look and cast, the Cage was pretty different from the Star Trek we would later get. It revolved around Captain Pike, yes, that Captain Pike, and featured many different characters, uniforms and sets. Following its production, NBC rejected the episode and stated that its plot, involving telepathic aliens constructing a mind prison, was too cerebral. They were also not satisfied with a majority of the actors, as well as the overall eroticism and the aliens being too alien for the general public. Despite the problems they had with the Cage, NBC made the exceptional decision to order a second pilot. This would become Where No Man Has Gone Before. The look of the sets was changed and only one actor from the original episode was kept on, Leonard Nimoy as Spock. The second pilot did much better. Its new cast members and the simpler story about a man turned god were a much needed improvement and convinced NBC to order a first season. So what about these lost pilot episodes? Well, to start off, The Cage wasn't the only story NBC considered for the first pilot. Star Trek producer Herb Solow explained, "They wanted to hear more stories before one of them was chosen for the pilot script. We had more meetings and Gene gave them more stories." The other 2 stories were to be The Perfect World and The Women. If that last one sounds familiar, it is because that would evolve into the season 1 episode Mutt's Women. Aside from the number of women, 5 instead of 3, not much changed between this story and the aired episode. NBC ended up not choosing this episode as the first pilot, primarily because they were concerned that the central plot of the episode dealt with selling women throughout the galaxy, and the guest stars being an intergalactic pimp and space hookers. What about The Perfect World then? What was that about? It revolved around an Enterprise away team landing on a planet with a technological level similar to Earth in 1964. But there are some differences between this civilization and 1960s Earth. There is a perfect order, no crime, no hunger or disease. Everyone on the planet is charming and completely adjusted. Everything is so pleasant and well ordered though that something appears to be off. When the away team investigates this, the captain is detained and subjected to extreme police brutality. Slowly it becomes apparent that the Enterprise has stumbled on a planet run like the dystopian novel 1984, a completely efficient state where despotic communism is carried out to its extreme. If this story sounds vaguely familiar, it would later be reworked into the season 1 episode The Return of the Archons. Ultimately, these other candidates were rejected in favor of The Cage. Although NBC would go on to reject The Cage, they were convinced that the series concept was compelling enough to warrant giving Star Trek a second chance. So even though they had already spent over $600,000 on the project, the network ordered 3 new scripts. From this they would choose a second pilot that would then be developed. Once again Mutt's Women was proposed. This concept took place mostly on the Enterprise itself, meaning that existing sets could be reused from the shooting of The Cage. It also didn't require many new outer space effect shots. However, the seedy Mutt character remained too great a hurdle for NBC. The second was a story that would end up becoming the second season episode, The Omega Glory. In it, Captain Kirk must find the cure to a deadly disease and put an end to another Starfleet captain's cultural interference. Few differences from the final episode include the missing starship being named the USS Argentina instead of the Exeter, a new helmsman and doctor character that were killed off during the away team's stay on the planet, and finally Kirk, fighting Captain Tracy in a Western-style gun battle, during which Spock would have been shot twice, only surviving because his Vulcan anatomy being different than that of humans. The Omega Glory advantage was that it showcased Roddenberry's signature parallel worlds concept. This stated that most of the planets would have a similar physical and social evolution to Earth. It would also allow the studio to be able to use existing studio sets, props and costumes to cut down on costs. This concept was very prominent in Roddenberry's original pitch for Star Trek, but in the final show it was only seen a handful of times, such as Bread and Circuses and Miri. In the end, the network chose the third option, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Even though it required many new special effects, sets, props and costumes, NBC felt it was the most powerful and compelling of the 3 proposals. I am CaptRobau, and this was the story of Star Trek's lost pilot episodes. What do you think? Would the alternative pilot episodes have been any better than the ones we got, or did they make the right call, choosing the ones we ultimately got? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to explore more undeveloped concepts like this one, click one of the videos on screen.